What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Johnny. Back in here with one more reaction video, ladies and gentlemen. Today we got a good one, a real good one, really informational. I don't know if you've ever heard of G. Edward Griffin. He's an American author. If you haven't, check out some of his work. But this interview is from 1969. Crazy, right? 1969. A lot is still the same, and just like I said, life is a big old matrix, and somebody got to escape through this thing. But he's going to talk about Manning Johnson. I don't know if you know who Manning Johnson is. He's like a hero of mine, bro. He should be up there with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Marcus Garvey because of what he exposed and what's going on with the world today. But he's very overlooked, so I want to share some of his information far and wide. He has a book called Color, Communism, and Common Sense, and everyone should have that book. If you haven't read it, definitely go check it out. I'll link it in the description box as well. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. Get yourself on in here now. The goal is to reach 1 million subscribers, start 1 million conversations, but I'm a firm believer. If we hit that 100 million mark, and for 100 million people get to see this type of information, hey, on God, we kill the narratives going on in the world. Because we all just spirits encased in human flesh trying to figure out this thing called life. We're not nearly as divided as the mainstream media wants you to think, but for some reason they want to keep us at each other's necks. So I'm here to be the Band-Aid, if that makes sense, the bridge to divide the gap. If you like what you hear, share this thing far and wide. Let's check out G. Edward Griffin.
1928, the communists declared that the racial differences among our people constituted the weakest and most vulnerable point in our social fabric. By constantly probing and straining at this one spot, they calculated that eventually the cloth could be torn apart and that Americans could be divided, weakened, and perhaps even set against each other in open combat. We mustn't kid ourselves into thinking that the communists have placed their agitators only into the black communities. They're working both sides of the street. They want hatred, violence, and bloodshed between the races, and they don't care how they get it or whom they use, even children if necessary. Here is a book that I think ought to be in every home library. It's entitled Color, Communism, and Common Sense by Manning Johnson. He joined the party as a young man because he honestly believed that the communists were trying to improve the conditions of his people. He was a dedicated communist, and eventually he rose to one of the highest ranks. But after many years, he discovered that instead they were merely planning to use his people in a bloody revolution to destroy America. And when he woke up to this, he dropped out of the party and devoted the rest of his life trying to alert his fellow citizens of all races to the true nature.
And that's Black Lives Matter, dog. I was 18 years old in 2008 when Barack Obama ran. Hell yeah, I voted for him. I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was going to pick up old people so they can vote and all that. I remember when Black Lives Matter came around. It seemed legit. But when you see all of these people are just profiting off your pain and your brokenness, that's extremely unfortunate. And that's what I see with Black Lives Matter, with the LGBT groups. I see all of these organizations profiting off of broken people. But let's get back into this.
The Communist Party as he knew it to be from the inside. Manning Johnson said, "Black rebellion was what Moscow wanted. Bloody racial conflict would split America. During the confusion, demoralization and panic would set in. Then finally the Reds say, workers stop work. Many of them seize arms by attacking arsenals. Street fights become frequent. Under the leadership of the Communist Party, the workers organize revolutionary committees to be in command of the uprising. Armed workers seize the principal government offices, invade the residences of the president and his cabinet members, arrest them, declare the old regime abolished, establish their own power." Now, here is a piece of vicious communist propaganda that perhaps some of you have seen. It's called The Crusader. It's written by Robert F. Williams, one of the organizers of the Revolutionary Action Movement. In this issue of The Crusader, the communists call not only for extensive chaos within the cities, but for putting to the torch every village, every forest, every field, and every barn. The plan is for raging fires from one city to the next. The reason? Well, first, there's the value of sheer destruction. Secondly, it would force us to deploy our defenses and rescue units over the widest possible area. The communists point out that as long as our police and National Guard remain concentrated, they're invincible.
And this is why I say that they don't preach home ownership to urban communities. But also they don't preach it to, anybody who live in rural, poor areas. Because if you own something, if you own your house, you're not going to burn that thing down. If you own this strip mall on the corner, if that's your grandma and them deli or bakery or whatever, you're not going to be as willing to blow it up. But if you don't value the property around you, who gives a damn? That's why you can make any projects, any Section 8 building look as nice as you want. It'll be terrible in a few weeks because you only value what you make better. I think dude's name is David Dorn, the security guard in St. Louis that was shot during the riots trying to protect the building. Rest in peace to that homie, older gentleman, just doing his job, man. I say two things that everybody should have, man. You should own you some land and you should own you some guns because you need to have somewhere you can go in this thing called life where no one else could bother you, where it's your escape from the world. And you also need you to have some guns. So if somebody come on your property, you can light their ass up and get back to your meditation.
But if they can be forced to spread out over the entire city and into the countryside as well, then they can be picked off from ambush one by one. And the third value of massive fire to the communists is psychological. The average American, they say, soft and decadent, when he sees billows of black smoke rising from one horizon to the other, when at night the only light he has to see by is the flickering red from flames leaping into the sky, he'll become paralyzed with fear and panic. He'll run away and hide and do nothing to interfere with the guerrilla bands as they strike at the community's power centers. The Crusader explains how to set up sniper units in crowded metropolitan areas, how to manufacture jumbo Molotov cocktails, the gallon jug size, and how to mix the gasoline with certain ingredients to make it burn like napalm, how to pour gasoline into utility manholes in the streets to set fire to the main telephone cables, how to put sulfur tips from matches into air conditioning units and blow up large buildings, how to ignite gas mains and oil storage tanks. It explains how radio-controlled model airplanes can be used to fly explosive charges over heavily guarded fences into gasoline storage areas or munition stockpiles. It even calls for infiltration into the National Guard units, revolutionaries posing as non-militants for the purpose of getting free military training and for gaining access to critical military supplies and heavy weapons. And then, finally, Robert Williams says this: any all-out minority revolution must create a state of crisis wherein almost all of the male population would be forced to remain in their homes to protect their property and families.
Check this out, though. 80% of the black community is led by women and children. And we got to pay attention to how they're pushing this trans stuff on telling men you could be girls. None of this is by accident. This is all by design. That Leah Thomas stuff opened a crazy door. I say give it 5-10 years and the starting five of Duke women's team will all be trans players. Just watch what's happening. But also, if more of these men are not focused on maintaining their masculine energy, it allows more communism to come in and infiltrate. The yin and the yang have to be there. The masculine and the masculine and feminine is present within all of us. But you need that balance. Just like plants need sun and water, you need the balance to grow into your best self. And we're leading our men off to a different path so someone else can come in. And to all the ladies who are pro this stuff, do you think the men of China or Russia or North Korea, do you think they're going to have any empathy for you or for your children? No, they're going to cut your head off and keep it moving. American men need American women. Regardless of your skin color, regardless of what, we in this thing together. We all family. We all we got. I keep saying that, man. If Americans don't love each other, this thing is over.
The middle class is very large, but it is not accustomed to deprivation and terror. Because of its affluence, it has waxed soft. It has no stomach for massive fire, blood, and violence. The motive force behind its life drive is its endless pursuit of prestige, conspicuous consumption, and sensual pleasure.
And I also think that's why it's so easy to make the majority of middle-class people vote Democrat. Because they really don't give it. I'm not going to say they don't care, but they got so many things going on in their own life and they so consumed. You're just going to pay attention to the propaganda. I don't expect everyone to research Manning Johnson like I do, or research G. Edward Griffin or Ralph Waldo Emerson. I understand it's a lot more fun to listen to the newest Migos song or go listen to what Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion talk about. But everyone keeps wanting to talk about generational wealth. And I keep saying it, if we don't have generational wisdom, we're doomed. You can leave your kids $100 million and they're going to be some rich dummies buying into this communism stuff, thinking they oppressed. You are free. You can do anything. You can accomplish anything. The greatest asset you have is your mind. Read The Miseducation of the Negro. That's another good book to drop in there that you should read that talks about how we're mentally enslaved. Not we, not meant to say that, not we, because I'm free as a fool. My brain is mine. I'm here with y'all.
Years of violent, sporadic, and highly destructive uprisings will set the stage for the grand finale. After the stage is properly set through protracted struggle, America could be brought to her knees in 90 days of highly organized, fierce fighting, sabotage, and massive firestorm. Ladies and gentlemen, the plans and preparations for a communist revolution of force and violence are far advanced. The organization behind these preparations has almost unlimited financial resources, and it provides both training and leadership.
Is that George Soros they're talking about? Let me know in the comments.
Based upon years of experience in many other countries. Our enemies are deadly serious about their task, and it's nothing short of national suicide for us to continue to ignore their plans and their progress. The violent revolution becomes of primary value to the communists to the extent to which it can be used to condition the masses psychologically to accept the nonviolent revolution, which is offered supposedly as the only alternative.
That's why they push that nonviolence so much. And when Martin Luther King start waking up and you see him and Malcolm linking up, get him out of here.
Hoping to avoid further violence and bloodshed, the public is to be pressured into accepting measures that will move the country gradually and legally toward communism, but without calling it that. The strategy of the proletarian revolution calls for the quiet conversion of our government into a communist regime, but under the banner of socialism. Well, what is socialism? All right, let's define it. According to the dictionary, socialism is a political concept based upon the principle of government ownership and control of property, the means of production, and the avenues of commerce. Under socialism, those who run the government, and the communists are confident that in America they eventually will be the ones who do so.
And I just want to pause it right there, and I would challenge everybody to go look up who Barack Obama's mentor was. And then I also want you to go read the book, The Communist, Frank Marshall Davis. I just told you his name. But, hey, it's crazy. Frank Marshall Davis was the leader of the Hawaii Communist Party. It gets deep, man. We've been bamboozled on a crazy way.
Those who run the government will know who is to get something and who has to wait. And that represents control over human beings. What has all this to do with the communist?
That is division. I'm sorry, that is diversity and inclusion. That is not control over human beings. That is making sure that everyone has a seat at the table and everyone's voice is heard. Because historically, the table has only been blah, 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 blah. Just say the line with me, right? That's how it goes. But that's how they plan this. Is to make sure we're going to control okay, I got it. They're being unfair. Bring it here. And you and I know the free market helps more people than the private sector. My mom was on Section 8 her whole life, government assistance her whole life. You name it. You get way more done when you got money. You can go out and take care of yourself. When you got to wait on the mailman to deliver your check, when you got to reapply for food stamps, what is it, every year? This shit is for the birds. I know about these systems. I know about the Section 8 inspections with people coming to your house with their clipboards and saying, oh, this ain't good enough. Oh, that ain't good enough. And we be back in a week to do another inspection. I know what it's like. Oh, you can't have dogs here. But when you got your own money and your own land, you can do what you want and no one can tell you what to do. And this is all about government control, man. You need to be the leader of yourself. I've said time and time again, the downfall of life has been thinking that we need a leader. You are the leader of yourself. You are the leader of your family. That's how every man should be. The same connection I got to God, you have as well. You can do anything. You can accomplish anything. You don't need somebody over you. Unlimited faith in yourself and watch that you get the abundance of benefits that God has in store for you.
Communist revolution in America? Well, ladies and gentlemen, It has everything to do with it because the building of socialism is the communist revolution in America. It represents the process whereby our country can be moved gradually toward communism without the people even being aware of it. No matter what grievance we may have, real or imagined, no matter what national problems we may face, the communists seize upon these as excuses to build socialism. They have one and only one solution for all problems: more government, and then more and more until it's total government. And forgive me for saying it one more time, total government is communism.
Man, look here. Like I said, this information needs to be seen far and wide. Everybody needs to hear this. But on the flip side, that's why I talk about you can't be publicly airing your racial grievances, because everything that you do in the public, somebody else profits off of. You're a walking resume. I want everybody who watch my videos to understand you only have one chance to put your narrative out to the world, because somebody is going to cut and edit it and clip and make you look however they want. But if you put your truth out there and the truth, the same way I just found this interview from 1969, somebody going to find this video of Johnny. So I'm not making this content to be liked by the left or by the right or none of that. I'm just putting it out there for it to be truth. A lot of black kids are growing up thinking white people hate them. A lot of white people are growing up feeling like they are to blame for something they had nothing to do with. You are new into this video game. I'm new into this video game. What happened before me, it happened before me. My job is to advance society, not try to fix something that's not here anymore. There is no past, there is no future, there's just the now. And what you're doing right now, the seeds that you're planting, they have to harvest one day. So if you're sitting around being lazy, you're going to have to deal with the effects of that later on. But if you're grinding, if you're trying to become a better person, if you're trying to improve yourself and your family, you'll reap the benefits of that. But these systems are trying to make it seem like as humans, we don't have control of our individual lives. And they're painting it with the brush of racism. It's because of white society. It's because of this. No, man. Disconnect from this matrix and understand you have supreme control over your life. Divorce yourself from your past and embrace a beautiful future. I don't care what you went through. I don't care how hard it was. You are not less than. There are men who go to jail for murdering 4 or 5 people, get out and become millionaires. There's women who get destroyed and abused and took advantage of their whole life, and they grow up and become a beautiful wife and have a happy, loving family. Your story ain't over, right? But you got to believe in that, man. Supreme confidence is everything. And until you learn to believe in yourself, you'll keep getting emotionally manipulated by the media. It's unfortunate that the masses of teenagers right now are supporting socialism and communism, not knowing where it's leading them. But it's up for people like me and you watching this video to decide, I got to speak up. I got to help somebody. Because my children, like I said, you can lead them hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're going to be some rich dummies. But if we can teach generational wisdom, if every kid in the inner city can learn who Ralph Waldo Emerson is, Marcus Aurelius, Frederick Nietzsche, Manning Johnson, Carter G. Woodson, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, then we change the narrative. But this is just me, man. I just had to put this wisdom out to the world. I hope everyone has a super mega awesome day. Spread love, spread positive vibes. Keep being the light in this dark world. And the more you speak truth, somebody's watching. Somebody's there. And your $1 million could pop in your life just like that. Keep being a great person, and God will handle it back. Until next time.